Hey everyone, Dr. Frunkey here with a new knife consult video. This is the Rike Knives 1701. This I accidentally called a 1508 when I first saw it because I honestly didn't know what it was. This knife came to me by way of my good friend Tony. He sent this as well as a bunch of other knives along so that I could review them, and we had a long discussion about some of the interesting things in his collection, and so I wanted to say thank you up front for sending this one along. So this is a really interesting knife to me because this represents a couple of things. This is the first Rike or Rike or however you want to pronounce it, Rike knife that I have ever held. And it really is a special knife for them. As denoted here, it is their 2017 or 2-year anniversary model, and so it was kind of them flexing their abilities and showing sort of what kind of quality they're able of putting out. Now, I haven't gotten a Rike knife in the past because a lot of them are a bit weird. They have some of these strange futuristic and alien style milling patterns. Some of them come in crazy colors. Nick Shabazz had a great video on one recently, the sort of smaller version. He's had a couple of videos on that knife. But they make some sort of strange looking knives, and so I never really wanted to pick one up per se. I will say this one is probably the most handsome one that I have seen. And a lot of it has to do with more of the subdued nature on this one, and we'll get into that in a little bit. So what we have going on here is a 3 3/4 inch blade going on up front, 3.75 inches of cutting length going on there with a nice sharpening choil. As denoted on the back of the blade, this one is done in S35 VN, which is a perfectly adequate steel. I think S35 ranks up there with absolutely some of the best. It is probably one of my absolute favorite steels in terms of sharpening and using, and so I'm happy with that. It's got a blasted finish, probably a bead blasted finish, which is not really my favorite style of finish. I find that kind of shows wear a little bit more easily. It kind of highlights it even sometimes, and I'm not a huge fan of it. Would have preferred a satin finish, but that's okay. Not my knife, so can't complain about it too much. It does have a very nice high flat grind going on there. And to be honest, this knife blade reminds me a lot of a Shirogorov for some reason. Maybe it's just the plain look to it all or the overall profile. I realize it's not a full flat grind like the Shiros, but it has a certain Shiro element to it, and I like that about it. It's got the kind of what's become standard of 0.16 blade thickness going on there, and it slices pretty darn well. It's a perfectly functional blade shape with a nice long area of flat and a nice belly up front. Nice drop point shape. You just can't complain about it. It's a very functional knife blade. I would have changed the finish, but hey, what can you do? It's got a nice little bit of jimping going on up here. Very functional, not painful, but it is very grippy. My thumb sticks in there very nicely, and along with the thumb ramping there, they've done that as well as any Spyderco I've ever had. That's a nice set of jimping going on there. Moving back, this runs on a ceramic ball bearing pivot system, and it is a flipper open only. I do like the flipper tab on this, and I do like the action. You can definitely hear that it's a ceramic ball bearing system. Ceramic ball bearings have a little bit of a different sound, and it's just really nice. You can hear the smoothness, it just flies out of the handle. The action is absolutely excellent. On dropping shut, super smooth. It's not a guillotine, but it will just fall shut, much like a lot of the other high-end Chinese knives. So definitely an impressive quality and fit and finish going on there. You can see that the blade is perfectly centered, and there are no major issues going on around the pivot there. The pivot does sit nice and flush with the handle there. Gotta like that. The flipper is well rounded and not sharp. You can play with that all day. That little bit of jimping helps you get some grip so that it flies out. I really like that. So let's get back to what is probably the most impressive part on this knife, and that is the handles, or the handle. So you have two pieces of 6AL4V titanium and a titanium backspacer going on here. They have very nicely inlaid this very nice carbon fiber on this one, and I'm a big fan of that. I must say, I like it a lot. I think that these are well fit. The quality is just there. If you follow my channel, you may have seen a recent review on the Rike Knives K1. Rike is well known as a Chinese company for high quality knives, but even they had some issues with their carbon fiber production on this knife. I will say that the milled carbon fiber here is absolutely flawless. It's got a secondary sort of milled, almost textured pattern to it that you might be able to see there. Really appreciate that. These handles look really, really nice. It is a frame lock. Lockup is early. There's a steel lock bar insert, so it's got all the quality that you would expect from these higher end makers. It's got a relatively deep carry pocket clip. Only this much of the knife is going to be sticking out of your pocket, held in place by 2 screws right there. Something that I've seen recently, my good buddy Adam Purvis has been making these beautiful Timascus pocket clips. He actually made one for me on my 0055 here, which I had anodized in green, but they will do it flamed, and it looks absolutely awesome. I think that adds a little bit of flavor to this kind of a knife, so go and check him out at apurvisblades on Instagram and see what he's got going. But the handle is very ergonomic. It's about 5 inches in length, so it definitely fills the hand. I have a larger hand, and so it fills mine very nicely. It's a little bit slim in profile, and so you're not going to get the very, very best of grips because it's just a little bit slim. I wish it filled the hand a little bit more. It's not perfect for my hand, but maybe you need a slimmer knife like that. What that slimness does do is allows it to ride in the pocket very nicely, along with this pocket clip. This little bit of jimping doesn't usually get in the way, but that can rub on anything else you've got in your pocket, and it's a bit of an aggressive jimping going on up top, so watch what you put in your pocket along with it. They've integrated the lanyard hole into the backspacer. I must say, I don't really need that in my life. I think that that's a little bit extra or unnecessary. Not a huge fan of that design element, but if you're a lanyard guy, maybe that's good for you. They've got some nice milling going on around the edges there. Provides a little bit of traction as well as some design elements. The construction is rather simple overall. You can see that it's just the pivot and then a screw back here. You know, presumably this is kind of pinned in place, this backspacer, and provides some sort of internal support as well. So I appreciate a simple and solid construction going on there. So what are my final thoughts on this knife? Well, it EDCs very nicely. It's ergonomic. It's got a nice little, I'm just noticing now, it's got even milled out part right there for comfort. It carries very nicely. It flips smoothly, so whether you're going to be hard using it or whether you're just going to be flipping it all day, you're going to enjoy it. It's not overly heavy. Let's go ahead and pull out the scale here and get that zeroed out. This comes in at 4.77 ounces, so not overly heavy for how much titanium is going on there. Can't really complain. It's very comfortable in the hand. The blade slices beautifully all the time, and it's a very functional knife. And specifically with this knife coming in the $200 range, you really can't deny the quality that's going on here. Now, there are some out there that are being offered for slightly more money. It's hard to find this knife. It was for sale on DHgate, which is kind of a shady website, and it's not really widely available right now. It may just be sold out, but there are some places where you can pick it up between about $150 and maybe $300, depending on where you're looking for it. So shop for a deal before you buy one at the higher end of that range. But what this does for me is show me that Rike Knives seriously has some quality going on. While they mostly have some quirky pieces, like with their multicolored finishes and some of their Thor integrals and things, they're a little bit weird looking. What I can tell you is that the quality is there. And so if you're questioning whether or not this is a nice knife, have no question in your mind. It is very well built. It feels every bit as solid as a ZT or a Rike knife. But just find the knife that looks right for you. I can't say you should run out there and pick this up because there are so many other knives in the market. And Rike is just one of those kind of up-and-coming Chinese companies that I don't know a whole lot about. If you have some experience with Rike Knives or the 1701 or any of their other models, why don't you comment down below? Let us all know what your experiences have been. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope it was nice for you to see this knife on camera a little bit. I hope I explained it a little bit for you. Click like and subscribe to my channel. Go over to Instagram, follow me at Dr. Frunkey. Follow Tony Metter over as well. I'll put a link down there. And thanks, guys, for watching. As always, this is Dr. Frunkey saying, take care.